Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How old are you?
How old am I?
hmm
47.
You need to get somewhere with the lights in the front of you. Okay. All right. So, you have a question, or do you want? Or you? Because the topic is it time to expand options?
I would say definitely yes.
Okay. Yes, it is.
I think for me it is. Um, I know for the past maybe
You
five
think it's
years.
time for you to expand your options
Yes,
to non-black men?
of course.
Do you have any children?
One.
How old?
She's 21.
How tall are you?
5'7".
Just size.
I think I'm a 10.
How much did you weigh the last time you weighed yourself?
187. Are you serious?
What options do you have at half 100 and almost 200 pounds?
It's all in the right places. I'm solid. I used to be a track runner, so a lot
What
of.
options do you have to expand at half 100 and almost 200 pounds?
Oh my gosh! So what options? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Um,
hmm
to be honest with you,
What women who are almost 50 years old have a lot of options?
we don't have a lot of options
So
because,
why do you think you can expand them outside of your race?
well, because lately I've isolated myself only to my race. I've never really
You,
dated
you
outside
haven't
my
you
race.
haven't isolated yourself. Those are your only choices.
Um, I would probably say yes and no.
So non-black men
Hmm.
of value approach you.
I would say yes.
When was the last time a non-black man approached you in public with the intention of meeting you and taking you out on a romantic evening?
I would probably say probably a year ago.
And where'd you go?
At that time, I was not interested in dating.
No, 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 no. That's
I
bullshit.
did okay. No,
That's
I'm not
bullshit.
bullshitting you.
That
Like
is
I'm just
bullshit.
watching your
No,
show, and
no,
that's
no,
when
no.
they
I
come
asked a
with
very
it.
specific question, man.
Okay.
Were you single at the time?
Yes, I've been single for a while.
Right. So I asked you, when was a non-black man of value approached you with the intention of taking you out on a romantic date? You said a year ago.
Right.
How do you know he was interested in taking you out on a romantic date if you didn't go?
Well, because I was asked,
By
and
whom?
yes, I was asked,
By
but at
whom?
that,
By him?
yes,
Did he already know you?
yes, we were acquainted with each other.
How were you acquainted?
We've known each other for a while and
So, in other
conversed.
words, see how you understand, guys? I said approached. Somebody that you know doesn't approach you. Approach means the implication is a
Oh,
stranger.
stranger. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I have not had that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I agree. Okay. I just got it wrong. So
I mean, I'm curious though. Why do you think the solution lies in non-black men at your age?
you know what? I'm not saying that that is the solution. I'm just saying that maybe I should try something new and
Huh?
try to date something, outside of my race. I would love to date a black man. Like my father.
But ma'am, you said it's time for me to expand my options.
Yes. Because
Oh,
I'm not having, um, I'm still single trying to date in my race. So now I'm just thinking outside of the box. Should I date outside of my race and see if I get a different result? Or should I
you don't
stick
have
within
those
my.
options.
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand. It's like saying, let me see which Ivy League school I would go to. Princeton, Yale, Columbia, Brown, and you can't get in a junior college.
Oh, I've been to a junior college. And I
At
have
50
my.
years old, you should understand the analogy. It's an analogy, a
Okay.
comparison. Seriously?
Okay.
Man, why are you postulating things that don't really are possibilities?
So you don't. I mean, I not. So you don't think.
You don't have non-black men of value approaching you to date you.
Okay.
So how can you expand that option?
And I wanted to give it a try and see what happens.
If no one's approaching you, how can you try it?
Well, like I said, I could say part of that is my responsibility, which I am going to take ownership with. I know with me, I do isolate myself. I,
Do
you
you
know,
work?
even with,
Do you work from home?
yes. And I've been working from home for the past 5 years
So
before
you don't.
quarantine.
How often do you leave the house?
I mainly leave the house mainly for leisure, like if I go dancing. I love to hike, so I
How often
hike.
do you grocery shop?
I grocery shop once a week.
Well, you don't go to the gym.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, but you gotta remember, I'm all solid. Like I don't have fat really, but
How many times a week do you go to the gym?
I go at least 3 times a week, and I hike on the weekends.
And you go to a local gym, or is it a woman's gym?
I'm open to. I go to a personal trainer, and I go to a regular gym. But most of my weight I put on during quarantine.
But if you go to the gym, man, that's public.
Oh yeah,
And then you go grocery shopping once a week.
yes,
That's at least 4 times a week you're in public.
okay. And I go to church. I do go to church.
That's more times. So that means you're not locked in the house. So if non-black men found you appealing, they could approach you.
They could.
But they
That's
don't.
if I look
But they don't.
right, and they don't, and I don't understand
See,
why.
because they don't find you attractive.
Okay, I mean that's fine.
I want you
Everybody
guys
has
to
a preference.
understand that this is the black girl magic. These women have been pumped so much to where it's like I gave you the Ivy League example,
Oh my god. Okay.
and you're still talking about, well, I'm still want to expand my options to Ivy League.
I didn't say
See,
I did. I just said to other
God
people
damn it,
about
I
my
gave an
race.
example. Are you oh Jesus. I gave an example. Do you want me to explain the example again?
No, you did not. I get your example.
Well, then stop acting silly, because it's going to go off the rails. I'm trying to have a conversation, and you're acting like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
Why don't you just deal with the reality, ma'am, that you don't have non-black men approaching you, and it's not likely that it's going to happen, especially at your age.
Okay.
This is not how it works. Especially men do they have any value, because we tend to be more race loyal the older we get and the more we're up the socioeconomic status. What's going on with your audio? Am I on speakerphone?
I have you. Yeah, on the speaker. I don't have anything in my ear.
Okay. When was the last time you had a relationship?
It's last time I had a committed relationship. I could say it was 5 years ago.
When was the last time you had sex?
Last time I would say about 2 years ago.
There you go. A relationship 5 years ago, sex 2 years ago. Effectively, you're kind of dead from the waist down.
Okay,
You don't really get out. You say you don't get out to socialize or whatever. You said you had somebody that you were familiar with, and he approached you and you turned it down.
And I have reasons behind that, but
Whatever they are, ma'am.
you know,
The only common denominator in your dating history is you and your inability to connect with anybody.
I can agree to that when it comes to dating. Yes.
Okay, so how we got down this crooked path is the notion that a jagged pill, like you're describing, should expand your options. What does a man's race have to do with your situation?
And I'm not saying that a man's race have to do anything with my situation. I'm just saying that I've never given that an opportunity to try to date out of my race. So just to have that available, like I want to leave that option open and available if that opportunity did come.
Okay. If it
That's
makes you
all.
feel, sure. Not really reality, but fine. Well, why aren't you actively trying to put yourself out here?
Oh, now, to be honest, yes, now I am. And I do find
But
myself
you have a 29, you have a 21-year-old,
21,
and you're 40 what?
47.
So why have you just kind of given up?
Like in dating, I don't know.
Because
Well,
this happens a lot with our generation.
you know,
Our women seem to really focus a lot on their career, and then they'll focus on raising their child. And once the child gets to be 18 and 21, you got women in their mid 40s, early 50s with no real relationship skills,
right,
thinking you can still date like you did in your 20s.
right. So, and I know that's the part of my life that I damaged. I take full responsibility of that because I was too afraid coming out of the relationship that I was in, and I did not want to be damaged goods to somebody
How
else.
long ago was that relationship over?
With my daughter's father or the 5-year relationship?
And whichever one you said was damaged, I'm assuming your daughter's father.
I would say both of them were, very hurtful relationships. My daughter's father after I had my daughter, I had no relationships with him afterwards. And then the other relationship, that was
So
5 years ago.
I'm curious. Let me switch this. Let me switch gears.
Okay.
What do you tell your daughter when it comes to relationships and to rank them and their priority?
That has always been a struggle for me, to tell you the truth.
What do you tell her?
Because, go ahead.
What do you tell her?
I tell her the things that I wish I
Is a
would have done.
relationship? Do you tell her to prioritize relationships?
No, I don't. I'm gonna tell you, yes, I don't.
So basically, you're dooming her too.
And I think I do that, you know. Um, and I think that I do tell her to prioritize that.
Yeah, but
And
you don't
then
do it. But she doesn't see you doing it.
right. And I know that
So
too.
basically, and the reason I brought this up is because people with only children, especially with daughters or having one daughter, those daughters tend to end up jacked up. I did a show talk about our modern mothers destroying their daughters, and they are because most daughters look at their mothers and like, well, damn, she doesn't talk about relationships like they're positive. It's all fear based. She doesn't teach me anything, hasn't taught me anything. Let's see. Is your daughter a good student?
Well, she's not in school right now, but when
Was
she
she a
did,
good student in high
yeah,
school?
she was average.
Mhm. When you
She
talk,
had got C's and
when you
D's.
speak to your daughter, when you speak to your daughter, how often do you contact her, or does she contact you?
My daughter still live at home.
Okay. 21?
Yes.
What is she doing?
Well, she just got her CNA license,
Okay.
and now she's working on her RN license. So I've given my
You
daughter.
talk to your daughter about your relationship problems?
Yes, I do. Because now I'm noticing
Is she
her.
like your best friend then?
Yeah, me and my daughter talk. I've
Hmm.
all because
So
I've been
basically, what
working.
you're creating is called a mother wound.
What do you mean by that?
I'm mother wound. Hold your emotional baggage. Make my mother feel better. Listen to her problems. Agree with her opinions. Never say no. Be a best friend. Talk
Well,
about
I
this
don't. I
mother-daughter
won't say.
attachment style because ultimately, man, um, daughters look. See, we're used to faulting fathers, and women who are not happy with their dating lives tend to not make it look appealing to their daughters. So their daughters tend to end up like, well, damn. It's not like you talk about men in a good or glamorizing way or anything. It's like, well, men are something to be avoided
Yeah,
or
I've never
leery
done that.
of. Huh?
I've never done that to her.
Well, whether you do it, whether you say it or not, you don't have good things to say about men in relationships. You're living life off grid for the most part. So if women, okay, if your daughter saw you with the men or talking about how great men are to have around, why men are so valuable and so important, and what you should do to make a man happy because men are so special, her outlook on manhood and relationships will be very different than get your degree, go to school, get your CNA, get out here. And like you said, relationships are not a priority. So basically, you're teaching your daughter to grow up and be you
No,
alone.
well, the thing is, Kevin, is that I've even pushed that on my daughter to make it a priority, but I do feel that she needs a level of education to be able to take care of herself.
Exactly what I just said.
Right. Right. So my thing is with her,
Again, they make their daughters carbon copies of them, and they give their daughters fear, scarcity, and lack. Their success, your daughter's success, is not in a man. It's in a job and an education.
but
I
to
am
go back, I've
sorry.
always told my daughter
It
that
is not you have taught your daughter like so many women taught. Okay, we teach our kids by what we say, but also what we do. Has your daughter ever had a serious boyfriend?
she did have one after she
When?
graduated
How
from high
old?
school. She was
Right.
about 19, between 18 and 19.
And how long were they together?
Um, it didn't last that long, about maybe six months. It didn't last that long at all.
She's 21 years old and lives at home.
Hmm.
So your daughter, it's called sister daughters. Your
Okay.
daughter is like your sister.
No, I'm mom.
Okay. If you
I'm
talk
still.
to
I
your
mean,
daughter about if you
I
talk to
have
your
a.
daughter about your personal problems, that's not what moms do.
Well, this is what I do with my daughter. I do with her what's age appropriate, or if I feel the conversation is needed to be had. So if my daughter came to
What do
me,
you tell your daughter men are for?
I tell my daughter about what men are for, to be, providers, to be a support system, to be a companionship. I tell my daughter about men.
And what does your daughter see you mirror? What does your daughter see you
You know
leading
what?
with?
And I'm guilty of that. Like I sit back
Thank
and
you. Stop, breathe.
right. I do think about
Stop,
that.
breathe. Stop, breathe. Stop and breathe.
Yeah, sorry. I do take
Stop and breathe.
okay.
Stop and breathe. You have told your daughter a bunch of stuff that you ain't living. And
I
she's
know.
seen mama live a life off the
A singleness.
grid.
Hmm.
Exactly.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, Kevin, at all. Like,
But what I'm saying is when I said sister daughter, it's like, no, I'm mom. No, your sister. You've
well,
taught
maybe because I
daughter.
don't see it that way.
Okay, like it or not, you ain't my first rodeo. And the bottom line is this is important because if we don't start having more women recognize what they're doing to their daughters are going to end up living their lives. Your daughter is on the path to becoming an independent woman. No man. And what do you think is going to happen? Likely
I hope it
happen.
doesn't
What do
happen.
you think is likely going to happen if she
I hope.
continues down this path inside of 9 years? Likely will have a baby because that's this path. 80% of our children are born out of wedlock because we have mothers who don't prioritize relationships with their daughters. They prioritize making sure that their daughters have jobs and careers and degrees and debt and everything else. Because you don't even have it in your life because the main thing that's running through your head is fear and this and that. And I'm like, this is a cycle.
I know.
And it has to stop with you ladies. Your generation of women has to get real about your lives, where it is, and what you've done to the younger women, because you're the women that they're looking at. That's why
And
I have so many
I
young
can
women
accept
calling into
that.
my show because you're their mother.
And I can accept that 100%. Because now that I've, gotten older and kind of look back over things, most of the things that you have said, it's been true. But how do I undo a lot of the things that I have done? And that's the problem.
You have to own it. You have to own it first.
Right.
When
And
somebody tells you
I'm
something, hold on, hold on. When somebody tells you something, you don't say, no, this isn't it. No, that is it. And just like, here's the thing.
but that was the
Here's,
first time I
listen. One of the biggest issues right now is at 47, you're still in a position, right, wrong, or indifferent, where you're still trying to salvage the bit of life you have left to get some happiness out of it.
Okay.
And the difference is we had grandparents our age, they didn't have to do that. They were married for 20 plus years. They weren't single. Single people are individual. They're not worried about it. You're worried about your dating options. When your focus should really be in our, if we were children, the women your age, their focus was us. Their focus was, come over to Granny's house. I'm gonna bake my baby some cookies. Come stay with grandmama. Can I go? Who let that baby stay over here? You will be in tug of war between your mom and your grandparents' house or your auntie's house. We had an abundance of love because we didn't have a bunch of goddamn single women trying to get out here and ride the train and figure out how to expand their options. Their option was in the other room, even if the man had passed on. We got a bunch of single older women who are looking at their daughters and saying, I made a mistake. I didn't know, but mama got a life too, and I don't have but another good 10 years before and it's human nature. Human nature, survival is hardwired into us, and so many of our Generation X women are trying to have a relationship to survive. The very thing that you didn't prioritize in your youth. And the sad part is, maybe the answer is not that you get your relationship. Maybe the answer is you actually help your daughter understand the value of a man.
and that's
Instead of
what
worrying about expanding your options, you give her better choices than you had.
and that's what I have been doing. Like and I totally agree with you. And I've been trying to figure that out, that I don't want to be a stumbling block for her. Like I want her to possibly get married one day and have a family because I didn't have that opportunity. So when she does meet someone, I'm not trying to sabotage it. I try to support her the best way I can.
The reason many daughters don't get married is because they don't want to leave their mothers.
And I can see that with my own daughter, and I'm pushing. Like
I
right now, she's
know,
getting ready
ma'am.
to
I
move.
studied this. I studied
No,
this
and I agree.
material.
Like right
So my
now.
point is, listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you may understand, or you can speak aspirationally, but if you're not actually telling your daughter, don't worry about mama. I want you to have a husband.
I told her that. I've said that.
But you gotta. You've been on this planet long enough to know it's not what we say, it's what we do, and how
And
we
I
talk
agree
about
with
it.
you on that. And I agree. But
So when we talk about relationships, when you tell me about your relationship history, it's
it
all been
sucks.
negative.
It sucks. It
Then
does.
how can you speak positive to her?
I mean, like I said, Kevin, it's like one of the things that I recognize. Like I recognize my mistakes. I take ownership of my mistakes.
I'm not trying to get you to take ownership of a mistake. What I'm trying to get you to understand is you can't do it alone.
I understand, and I know that too. Like I have my
This is
brothers.
one thing that I think older women are going to start doing. You're going to start bringing your daughters around men.
Right.
Because the only thing you have to pull from to talk to your daughter about is relationships that didn't work. And
Right.
your
And
issues with that man.
I totally agree. And that's the one thing that I did try. Like when I do date, I do try to bring, like if I do go out on a date and I'm comfortable with the person, I try to let my daughter see me date, to see the bad, the good, and the ugly. So
That's not what I'm talking about, man.
mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you said it because it is still about you.
Okay. And I don't want to make it about me, so.
It is. It's about you. This is what I mean. This is why so many young women are coming to these platforms because, like it or not, whether you intend it or not, your generation failed these women. And y'all need to own that. Y'all failed these women.
Okay.
Because we are quick to say that our father's generation failed us. We're quick to say deadbeat dads and absentee fathers. Well, goddamn it, y'all, it's time for y'all to start admitting we have failed our daughters. We do not speak about relationships with men as anything to be positive, happy, or to build any kind of anticipation. Do your daughters, do black daughters, what is going on with your speaker? Jesus Christ. Hold on.
You have an echo?
Hold on. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly fine.
Do black daughters look at relationships like children looked at Christmas morning?
I could say mine's probably don't.
Do black daughters look at relationships like children looked at Christmas morning?
I would say mine's probably don't.
Do black daughters, not just yours,
Okay, I would say no. I would say probably say no.
then that is a failing of the mothers.
And I can take ownership of my part, yes.
Because Chris, because you know what I'm talking about. When you're a kid, we used to, Thanksgiving, we were on high alert. We were looking forward to Christmas morning. It was an event. It was a thing. The Christmas practice, the wrapping, the entire thing. It was not just it wasn't just the bicycle or the basketball or the whatever. It was the entire experience. But how are y'all talking about relationships? How are y'all living relationships? You know what? Relationships, if black relationships were Christmas presents, they would be a pair of socks put in a gift bag.
That's deep.
Who gets excited about getting a pair of socks in a gift bag? Nobody even took the time to wrap it. But you got a gift.
Right.
We got a Christmas tree with no lights, no tinsel, and a bunch of gift bags with socks under it. Merry fucking Christmas, black girls. And we wonder why our young ladies are so terrified of marriage to where they got to get this. Did you listen to the video where I had that 26-year-old young girl?
Yes, I saw it.
I got to get my bag. I got to get my bag. I got to get my bag. I got to get my hustle. Relationships are a priority. And I'm like, why is this young lady who came from a relationship, and so many young girls feel like life is about money and careers and bags and so forth, because that's what's been given to them by the women. Because you're the controllers of the culture, not us. Right. Women control the culture, not us. So it's all about hustling, getting the bags, and so forth, and we can't fix it. Right. The women have to sit back and do what women of old have always done. It's in your Bible. The elder women have to teach the younger women. But in order to do that, your generation of women is going to have to fall on the sword and say, my life is over, and I got to give up what's left of my life to teach this next generation. That requires you being selfless, not trying to expand your options. And that really goes against strong, independent, I don't need no man. My life, my choice goes against all this stuff. But I got news for you. If we don't get young black women in a position to want to be wives, we don't have a black community in 10 years. It's gone.
And I agree.
Gone. And it's gone because we don't have any wives. Young black girl, your daughter 21, in other races, your daughter got a 50+% chance of being married. 54% or higher. In our community, less than 20% after you take out the baby boom. And that ain't got nothing to do with the men or daddies. So I get it. Our generation, we were lied to. We got a bunch of misinformation. And it sucks because unfortunately, when I was a young man, because we're contemporaries, when I was a young man in the 90s, we paid for a lot of shit. Right. Go back and look at the movies in the 90s. Black men is gay down low. All you saw was black women moving and shaking in corporate America, and the black men were in the mailroom. We took a lot of shit. But now, men have gotten themselves into a position. We're not on cops anymore and this and that. 54% of black men are single and childless. 61% of the middle class. Clawed yourself into the position of respect. Now it's time for black men over 40 to experience what you guys got in the 20s. What was that? Don't Want No Scrubs and all them songs that was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That was y'all's turn. It's y'all's turn. And we had to eat that shit. Now y'all gonna eat it. You better do it with a smile. Because what's at stake is your daughters.
Right, that's true.
Because Becky, Marisol, Marlene, and Jamila ain't studying Keisha. They're coming right over here and learning how to fix collard greens and macaroni and cheese to get black men. These young Zennial men, me and your daughter's age, then black women be race loyal and choose them first. You got boys as young as 12 talking about, I don't want to be with nobody. Y'all too mean.
Mm-mm.
7 years old, look on TikTok. And all these boys are around and no men are around their mamas. Where do they get this stuff from? So it is up to the women in your generation to sacrifice if you really, really want a black community. And the sacrifice is going to be to give up the rest of y'all's lives to step into the role Big Mama had. Because we Big Mama's age. We should be out there trying to rip. Big Mama, could you imagine your grandmama trying to get out and do with some of the stuff that people your generation do, our age do?
I've never seen my grandparents. My grandparents were still living, except for one. And
but my point is, could you see anybody when you was 10 years old? You couldn't imagine nobody in their late 40s, 50s talking about I gotta get out to the club and I need to date. What? No, they won't. So good conversation. I mean, like I said, it's not Generation X got a raw deal.
You know,
and I feel sorry for Generation X women, but here's the thing. I feel sorry for you guys, but you got the benefit. Because when we were coming out of college, black women were getting hired at a rate of 2 to 1 with black men because you counted as a double minority against affirmative action. The gains that black men were supposed to get out of civil rights went to you guys through affirmative action in Title IX. That's why we had this entire black women are doing this and doing that and outpacing black men. So black men caught hell for good 20 some odd years. Now we're just like, oh, good. That's why black men over 40 are some of that. Black men over 40 are some of the happiest men on the planet.
Interesting.
Because all the shit that we had to survive. We didn't have wives. We didn't have women who wanted to be our counterparts. I'm
a PhD.
And that's what it was. You know that's what it was. You know that's what it was. Go back and look at the movies of Halle Berry. Go back and look at the movies in the 90s with all them short haircuts.
You're right. That's true.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Short haircuts and corporate chicks.
Right.
Atlanta was ground central, ground zero for all that shit. All right, Ma, I'll talk to you later.
But thank you so much.